Welcome to Sound Values, powered in part by LSA Burger and Classic
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in live tonight on DentonRadio.com with Sound Values. If you can't tell, I'm very excited. We've been gone for 2 weeks, and tonight I have my old friend and a wonderful musician, singer-songwriter, Patrick Hamilton, in the building right now. Now, I want to make sure that y'all understand this, that if you are walking around town and you happen to see one of these stickers, Gideon Crow Music, this is the man right here, Patrick
I'm not
Hamilton.
held responsible for where they're stuck. I give that stuff away.
Yeah, it's not his fault. Somebody else did all of that. All right. So I've known Patrick for quite a while, man. We met back when we both worked at LSA, man.
Yeah.
And I was actually just over at the Bearded Monk, and I was talking to Easley. Ben,
He's a cool guy.
And he was like, yeah, Patrick stopped in here earlier. He told me he's going to be talking to you tonight. And we both kind of started. I was like, yeah, this is how I met him. He's like, oh, man, it's been so cool. One day he just walked in here with a guitar, and he's just grown as part of the community and the Denton Songwriters Guild. And so it's really cool to, like, have known you for a couple years. And, like, I always liked you. I always thought you were a really nice guy. But then to hear that from someone who else is a really nice guy like Ben,
That's
like,
cool.
all right, cool. It's great to hear that,
Yeah,
like, you're doing great and people are noticing that, hey, this guy walked in here with a guitar, and now he's playing shows and writing music and doing awesome, man.
It's a totally organic Denton grown experience.
That's what I like to hear, man. Yeah. So I'm excited to have you on the show tonight. You told me you've done some research on the questions that I ask. So the first question that I always ask is, what is your first musical memory?
Well, there was the thing it's not I knew I wanted to do music, but if you really get down to like the first memory I have of like a song and music is my mom used to sing some, like, I think it was a Carpenters tune. It was like a sing a song, make it
song.
that one. I remember her singing that in long drives, and I was in the back seat in the car seat or whatever and listening. But I remember, and my dad liked a lot of Jim Croce. He passed away, but or both of them passed away. But you know what I mean. I kind of think I carried that along too. I really liked that Jim Croce could write this beautiful ballad, you know, Hello Operator, I had to say I love you in a song or something like that, and yet he could do the bad Leroy Brown, Don't Mess Around with Slim. He just could get everybody excited about the get up and
he could hit
around.
all the emotions.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to feel like the bad dude with the hair slicked back and the collar popped, he could, or if you were a sad boy at home while it's raining.
Yeah.
You know, he could hit all his. Well, what was, okay, so that's like, you know, when you first kind of heard music, but what was the thing that made you say, I want to do this, I want to perform, I want to play music, I want to write music?
You know, that happened, I'm not going to get on it too much, but I began traveling later, like, you know, my family did a good job of setting me up with some money and a place to stay and a good education from good schools. I started at UNT and transferred to Pitt. You know, I had things, but my life was, I started a family, I was in the Army, I did all these things, and my life was kind of turned upside down one time, and I needed to take a walk, and so I left and went from where I was living in Roswell, New Mexico, up to Albuquerque, and I called my sister and my mom from a little Irish pub there and said, this isn't far enough. I bought a $50 ticket on Amtrak and went. I'd never seen the Pacific. I went to the coast. I kind of hung out there for a while, and when I came home, they all kind of like thought maybe I'm over it, but I just was there to I wanted to hit the road. And musically for me, I'm from Denton. I always appreciated a music town. I got here, but what I started doing that helped me out immediately was writing poetry. I'm working on a book of poetry to put with my next album eventually, but you know, I started writing these things out, and they just, like, for therapy's sake, made me feel much better, all autobiographical in the beginning and everything. And hey, Brett Crow says,
hey, what's up, Brett?
I started writing these things out, and I came back home to Denton to figure out what I was doing. Got a job at LSA there, and met you. And
that's where I met you, man.
And so you've known me longer than I've been writing songs, and this is my thing now. So that's pretty great. That's
Did you ever know Matt when Matt
Matt-
was working up there? Grigsby. Did
Oh,
y'all
yeah,
ever
yeah.
meet when
Me
you
and
worked up
Grigsby
there?
were friends before that, though. So
Okay.
he had the open mic over at Banter. I knew him before he set that, and then he set up the one over here. He just, but yeah, he's a tremendous songwriter. So I
Yeah.
had these friends in this network, this small community here. Ellie Meyer, that used to be all kinds of people. Lydia Lowe, and a friend of mine from Nashville that used to come through town, Lonnie Clyde, pretty often. His son now lives in Dallas, is a tremendous songwriter. But anyway, all this right here, and I would listen to these people. I'd show up. I remember showing up at Ellie's show somewhere in Carrollton, little coffee shop. It was just me and her mom and Gary playing drums for her. And I bought a
Yeah.
shirt, said Ellie Meyer, and dancing around and stuff. And I went to Matt Grigsby's. I went to these open mics and these shows just because I loved it, and just somewhere along the way, I babysat a guitar for somebody, and I was like, why am I watching that? It was like one of those, you hang around too long.
Yeah.
I started watching and going, why am I watching this one? You know, I can figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
You know, just start playing and stuff. And I'm like, I think this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
My poetry it was always about, for me it's always been about, when it comes to like doing this for a thing, like for money or something, or for a show, or for an open mic, is I did the poetry open mics. I wrote a song and they gave me 15 minutes to play it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do some jokes. Because, you know, so that I can be funny. I used to, honest to God, one of my first stand-up routines was to stand up there at the mic. I'd come between these jokes down on Fry Street.
Yeah.
All these cool, tremendous comedians and stuff that got the crowd laughing.
Yeah.
I come in there, everybody's seen a guy with a guitar. And I've been playing for like 3 months, and I do this well. All right, I get a lot of friends here that are musicians, and I respect I wrote this song, and I think it's the best song I've ever written. You know, and I just, until everyone was really listening, I just like, this is, but I haven't finished it yet. It's unfinished. It's not, but I really am, you know, bear in mind, I think it's the best thing. If you just tell me what you think. It's unfinished. This is what I got so far. It goes like this. 1, 2, 3. That's all I got so far. But I feel like this is the best song. You know.
I was on the edge of my seat waiting to
So
hear what this song was
I would
gonna
do like
be.
12 minutes of that stuff. I'd do my warm-up song, you know, dough the stuff you buy beer with Ray, the guys that sells me beer, or whatever. I'd do my whole dough Ray, and
Dude, I'm still laughing. I'm sorry.
and that was the whole thing. Is my worst fear was, what if people laugh at me because I only know 2 chords and I wrote a song in a town full of highly educated musicians.
I love
And
it.
So, yeah.
So it was almost like, it was kind of like, hey, if they laugh at me, at least they're laughing at me because I made them laugh at me.
Yeah,
Or laugh
but then
with
you know,
me in a
then
way.
I would eventually, the last 2 minutes, get to this is the first song this is the only song
I don't know who this Sandra lady is, but she keeps telling me you rock all the time. It's very frustrating.
That's Sandra. That's my girl. That's part of coming home too. So I get to be here in town with
She
people
was
that
always
love
really
me.
nice to me. Yeah.
She used to be your boss.
Everyone else.
She used to be our boss.
I know.
That's
Oof.
how the tides have. No, the tables haven't turned for me. Never mind. She's still my boss.
It was an easy transition.
Yeah.
All right, so you got something else, I guess, like
Uh,
something else you're gonna make me lose my mind with.
Oh well. So after the comedic build-up and stuff, I would go ahead and play the only song I'd written. When this is the first song I wrote was sun coming up, my head over the lake. I'm breathing cold air in as last night fades. Scissor tails flip against blue sky, and trees of green shadow my eyes, and my mind's troubles ripple far from the shore. I hurt no more. She rambles on her guitar, feet, toes barely in touching the water. Sound and lights flicker in space, and she sings songs about finding peace. And my mind's troubles ripple far from the shore. I hurt no more. I hurt no more. Like I said, they were the only two choruses.
Yeah.
A couple of beers, shooting pool at the bar, hanging with friends who don't know who you are. Outside, the night is drifting off the lake. It's easy now to smell the coming of change, and my mind's troubles ripple far from the shore. I hurt no more. I hurt no more. Waves crash against the sand. Oh, it's the first song I ever wrote. You think I wouldn't see, it's the one little bit of waves crash against the sand. My heart skips a beat as she grabs my hand. I'm curled up close and I can hear her breathe. I close my eyes and I begin to dream. I didn't know the structure of a song or anything. Like I should sing that whole little hook again.
Yeah.
But I just decided that's when the song's finished.
Yeah.
So it's kind of gone with that. Just naturally evolved to.
Mm-hmm.
And I started out traveling with the whole beauty of getting a guitar and being able to write that first song was, it was kind of like a list poem of the things that made me feel good. And I left on the road. I don't recommend anyone go against doctor's advice, but I with doctor's advice, I let go of medications and things like this and started really trying to find out who I was and what my purpose is and what I want to experience. And, and connecting with people really, I had this overly emotional thing, like where I just fell in love with everyone at the beginning. It went from I'm a robot and I take this to sleep and this to not be mad and this to whatever and to this like outpouring of I just fell in love with the first girl I came across with a guitar, and I fell in love with every person I met. And I which was beautiful and wonderful, but that first year of traveling and I wrote that song was just kind of like I needed it. So that was kind of turned out to be a list of, things that hurt no more. That was what I called the song. Things that just kind of naturally, these are what make me feel good,
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, here's the thing is like, those lyrics are awesome, and I think like, so for me,
accidentally folk.
Yeah, I've never like, it wasn't until I started making a lot of instrumental music that I started listening to the instruments. I always was more focused on the vocals. I listened to a lot of hip hop growing up and a lot of like
me too.
More like very like I listened to the mainstream rap, but I also listened to underground stuff that was very like kind of poetic in their messages and the stuff they explained. Don't get me wrong, I got wild to Little John every once in a while, but if I could listen to like Atmosphere or People Under the Stairs or something like
There's something to be said about music that just makes you want to dance.
Yeah.
That like halfway through the song you already know the whole song.
Yeah.
Like I do.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
But
so, you said you kind of grew up in Denton and then you traveled around. Now, one question that I do have is, do you feel like, because you're not the first guy who I knew who was in the military who was like, I need to do some traveling, I need to get around. Yeah. Do you feel like those experiences being in the military kind of made you want freedom a little bit more? Like, was there so much restriction within the military that when you got out, you're like, I need to spread these wings and fly?
I don't think I consciously thought about that as a decision, but just as a naturally progression of who because I didn't go travel right. I didn't get out of the Army and just decide I'm going to hit the road.
Yeah.
I had a family and I had things going on and stuff, and I think it was more just at a point in my life 6 years ago when it was turned upside down, and I no longer felt like I was living in everything was unfamiliar, and I couldn't do the same thing again because it all included my family and things. I couldn't go back to teaching dance or go back to working at the factory or go back to the same old house or drive the same truck or whatever. And I started realizing, well, if this is it, and I had an attempted suicide 18 months. So it was a long 18 months there of after this big thing happened of depression.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where to do it. Honestly, there were weeks where I was staying out back at the shed of my sister's house, and I would order a pizza, and the guy would show up, and I'd open the door this much. You can slide the pizza through sideways, you know. I mean, I just closed myself off from the world, and I went into a deep, dark depression. And, you know, you can – someone famous once said you can work on anything in a man can work on anything, perfect anything in solitude except for character. Because for character, you need that reaction. You need to really know who you are. You need to be around other people. And as a human, I think one of the most human things we do is want to interact with each other.
Yeah.
I want to, you know, I mean, friends show up here in town. I want to introduce them to the people I know that can help them. I want to show them around, get them a gig, whatever, because I do this. And I go on the road, and the same thing happens. You know, people meet me, and I end up getting gigs. And I mean, this thing right here, I don't know how I did without it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a part of my life that it feeds me, clothes me.
Yeah.
I said today to somebody, they were talking about starving artists, and I said everything I have today is because of music, but I also understand that everything I don't have is because I've decided to do this. I mean, everything I have is because of this, but everything I don't have is probably because I've decided to do this.
Yeah, and when you say, like, the want to be around people, I mean, look at it, man. The worst thing that we can do to someone, apparently, is put them in solitary confinement, is get rid of your interactions with human beings. That's the ultimate, like, punishment.
And my mind was leaving. I was putting myself there as a just this way to I didn't know what else to do. So so after I mentioned briefly the suicide attempt, there was a white slate. I'm not talking about being depressed or anything. I'm talking about there was just a slate. Got up the next morning, and it was like, well, that didn't work. So
now
what else are we gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, I went down the street, and that's when I decided to take off to Albuquerque, a few hours away, and called my mom and said, I'm going to the beach to think. You know, I'm going to I've never seen the Pacific, and after that, I've seen the Atlantic and the Pacific. I've seen the sun set and rise on 3 oceans coast. I mean, I've been a few places. I'm looking forward to a European tour, but I go all over the place because I love. I just that's what I like right now is the
and no, I completely agree with you, man.
I get to know the world around me.
Yeah. I mean, when I was 20 years old, I was going to school down in Austin, and I had no idea I finished my 2 years. I had no clue what I wanted to do. I was working at a sporting goods store, and so I got big discounts on all the camping gear they had. So I bought all this camping gear. My best friend bought a bunch too because he was working there, and his grandma, out of the kindness of her heart, was like, "Hey, like, I want to buy you a new car." His grandma. What do you want? He's like, I don't know, something fuel efficient. So I got a 2008 Honda Civic. Like the next day we left school, like we're done, like, because neither one of us knew what we wanted to do, and we started traveling. I had seen the Pacific, but there was so much of the world. I grew up in a tiny little bubble. Literally, South Lake, Texas is called the Bubble. Like that is the nickname of that place. And like growing up there, very, very safe and all that stuff, but it's a bubble. You don't have a true understanding of what's going on with the other, I'm dead serious, 99% of people when I say this. You know, I grew up in it, and so when I got out there on the road, man, just like you're saying, you start meeting people, and it almost gets addicting, you know, and I still feel it. And I've told people this a million times. My dog has saved my life. If I didn't have that dog, I would be living out of the Subaru that I had 4 years ago in the middle of Colorado, snowboarding every day. Now, maybe I'd be happy, but like you said, it'd be one of those things. I gave that up for this. Okay, well, I gave that, you know, that traveling, nomadic John Kerouac lifestyle up for, okay, I want to do this a little bit more. You know, I feel like, okay, this is more of the path that I have to go on.
It's funny you mentioned Jack Kerouac because I really do. I like. In April, I'm going to Florida at a 420 show in Sanford, and I'm going to be right there near. Sanford's right by Orlando, and the only official literary landmark there in Orlando is Kerouac's house, where he lived with his mom and wrote in 57 and 58, and he wrote Dharma Bums there, and he. On the Road became published while he was living there and stuff, and so I get to, you know, this is the thing is I've always found is I really like this, but I'm a little different from some people. I understand because they'll tell me where to go based on where people like me are playing or where whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I always end up doing just fine going where I want to go, seeing that hot springs that's 2 miles from a hike from some town that is in the middle of nowhere or whatever, you know, or go to see Kerouac's house or go somewhere, go see friends. I travel around and make more friends, and I go see them during the summer. And I always make enough to get by. I still don't know if it's I think it's on my webpage, as I've said for years, is I may never make it a lot of money at this, but I make a hell of a living.
Yeah.
I make a great living. I love my life. I really do.
Yeah, you might
and
not make a lot of money, but that's the thing. You might not be making money, but you're making
I'm not
memories.
anti-money at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, man. No, I don't. It's very hard to be anti-money if you've ever had some money.
But I do love that somehow this right here it does things that a therapist that I'd have to pay a therapist for, and it teaches me something constructive.
Yep.
And it tends to get me housed up and get me clothing, get me money for food, or people just. Or just I go and I how do you eat? That's funny that's the go-to soccer mom Starbucks cup.
Yeah.
Like
how
attitude. I run into these ladies in California that are just like, but how do you eat? I'm like, that is like the last thing I ever worry about because I go to where I want to eat, and I sit out there and play some music. Sometimes I get a menu,
which I brought up. I brought this up earlier.
Sometimes I get a menu and I sit it out there. One time I was really hungry at a Red Robin or something, and I sat out there with a menu, and I'm like, ooh, $9 and something for a burger. Like, I just played, and a lady came along and played another, and I'm looking at it. I already got my, 30 minutes later when I got enough to eat on, I've got my, I'm getting the mushroom Swiss burger and
let me get a shake on the side.
Yeah.
Bottomless fries.
I know what I want. Yeah. I know what I want. I've been hungry for like an hour right there. So.
Well, see, man, I think that's amazing, and I think that one thing that a lot of people, when they walk past a cat who's busking or something like that, I think the one thing that they miss is kind of the story. That was one thing when I was traveling around. I worked for a whole summer, 2 jobs to be able to travel, but I really enjoyed talking to people who it was more of like a choice rather than like I'm gonna go do this. It was a different kind of choice. I was like, I grew up in the suburbs. Let's go see what it's like out in California. These people were like, we're not going to be a part of the man and the system. We're going to do it our way, and experience life on our own and have all that. Sorry, my allergies have been killing me today.
That rain makes everything kind of.
And it was such a different, a different vibe of living and of lifestyle that I had never really experienced before. And now, just like you said, man, I have a car because of music. Like I got a car because I started because I was playing music. I was able to save up enough with gigs that I got to be able to buy a car because of this. Like, just like you've said, most of what I have is because I play music, and most of what I don't have is because I play music. And I'll tell you what, man, I am way happier with the things that I do have than with the things I do not have. I think, there's not.
Well,
there's not
I understand. Also, I understand that one of the realities of living in this country, and I don't want to get too political or anything. One of the realities of living in this country is I have friends, that have different color skin, or they're a different gender, or they, the transient lifestyle is just kind of shut down. Although it's interesting because most of the great people, the guy that invented Amazon, and all these people always rave about one of the things you must do at some point. And I totally, if I were to give any advice to anyone, is if it's 2 weeks between high school and college, if it's a summer job overseas, if it's a just take a couple of months off to go ride around the country with your friends or whatever it is. Traveling is kind of a key to finding out, to introspection. You can't look at yourself without honestly looking at yourself in an unknown place you've never been, around a bunch of people you don't know, and gauge your own reaction along with theirs.
Yeah.
It's a it's a good way to, I think, to build character.
That's what I was saying. So I grew up in the same.
I think it builds character.
Grew up in the same
Absolutely.
place from 1st through 12th grade. So I was like, I got to get out of here. I always wondered, what would it be like to walk into a room where nobody knew who I was? How would they perceive me? You know, because when you've lived somewhere for 12 years, people have started to perceive you a certain way after that amount of time. They're like, oh, Mike is this, and this. You know, when you go somewhere like where I went, where I never knew anybody, it was like, I can, let's see what this is like. Let's see what it's like to be around people who don't know me and I don't know them. And how are they going to receive me? How am I then going to receive myself?
It's a sword and a shield. It's a great thing. I really like it because instead of reinventing yourself, what I've realized the last couple of years is I don't want to. At some point, you're not running away from something; you're running towards something, and I'm finding out something more about myself. And I don't. I mean, it used to be a great way to reinvent yourself every town, not have to worry about the last one, just brush it off. What is the I grew up in a Christian house, so the shake the dust from your sandals or whatever to screw that town and move on to the next one, whatever. But more and more, you know, I've gotten to an age and a place where and it's really a key to treatment to depression too. But talking about the depression that I suffered beforehand is not that I don't get depressed still, but I really do know that I'm comfortable and proud of who I am, regardless of any. So I like me.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that when you go to a new town, I don't get to reinvent myself. I get to reintroduce who I am. You know, I mean, I get to.
Yeah.
I'm okay. You know, so.
No, that's awesome, man. That's great. Yeah, that's a fantastic way of putting it.
I wrote a song. If you want to talk about. Told you a lot of stuff I get out in music, but this is here's one I wrote when I was visiting family in New Mexico. It's called Just a Song.
All right.
I picked up this old guitar a couple of years ago and just started walking when I had nowhere to go. Don't know where I'm headed. I don't want to join no band, but I'll see the end of every road before I die if I can. Somewhere down this road I'm on, someone's feeling just as alone. And if I sing loud enough, this could be more than just a song. I see friends and lovers and children all pass away. I felt like an old man at the age of 28. When I get the feeling lonely and wishing for a life I had, I sit down on the corner, strum a while and put out a hat. I don't know no Jesus, but if you a praying man, put in a good word for me. Wish God had helped this traveling man. Now I ain't say all this for pity. I don't need nothing from you. Somewhere out there, someone feeling like I do. Somewhere down this road I'm on, someone's feeling just as alone. And if I sing loud enough, this could be more than just another song.
Nice work, man. Nice work. That one was excellent once again. And I kind of feel like, you know, like you were saying, the first song you ever wrote, you're like, I know I kind of should have repeated that part, but I just ended right there. There's a part in that song where you repeated, you know, kind of more than just a song. You said that part again, and I could feel like the songwriting, like the lyrics, you know.
Like I have some songs with no chorus at all, and some songs that sound like actual songs.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's exactly what any singer-songwriter should have. You have songs that have like the structure, and then you have a song where it's just like, I'm getting a message out.
It's kind of like when I got into poetry, I started going to the poetry assembly here in town. You know, Denton also unrecognized thing. They've recently been recognized for the years and years, decades of wonderful music here and stuff. And there's more music majors at UNT than anywhere else in the country. You know, I mean, like the music and the arts. But you know, a lot of people don't know that as far as the Texas Society of the Texas Poets Society or whatever, in Denton is the largest group of published award-winning poets.
Really?
Yes.
That's
the
impressive.
meets up here at Emily Fowler Library once a month, and there's
things you don't know.
17 people in that room. They look like the regular old people or the professors that you know, but there's more award-winning published poets in that room than anywhere else in Texas and the Texas Society. And I'm like, Denton is such a great place. But yeah, I kind of did get into getting back to my story. Yeah. I did get into songwriting the same way I got into poetry. Is I just started writing it down, and it was all like free verse, whatever. It was all you know, just freestyle, whatever. I just wrote it all down for therapy's sake, and then I started going to these poetry meetings to learn the structure and whatever fits in. Yeah, songwriting is, the more I hang around here, the more I learn from songwriters, the more my songs start to sound like actual songs.
Yeah, man. You know, and you know, I enjoy how,
and not just 5 verses and no chorus.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I can remember, you know, the stuff that you talked about has resonated a lot when I used to write lyrics and stuff and do raps and all that. Because I was writing stories, I was traveling, you know, and that's what I was writing about. You know, you know, and that was, you know, so it's been cool to kind of like, it's like similar stories, but kind of different. You know, we both traveled. We both found music as a way to overcome anxieties and stuff of that sort. It was a way to connect with people.
Oh, you have no problem connecting with me. You look like half the people in my family reunion. I mean, red face, red hair, freckles. It's
exactly.
Like, that's all the women in my family, and about half the guys. Yeah. Yeah. It's not cool for me, but maybe you could come to my family reunion and pick up girls. But
I'll bring the potato salad. Mike's world famous potato salad. Nah, man, it's really cool, and you know, I think one of my favorite things.
I'd buy that, by the way. You stick your face on a potato salad, I'd buy it.
There's some quotes from people who I've interviewed that I always remember, and I think one that I'll never forget that you've said tonight, which was the fact that I get to introduce myself. I'm not going to town like, oh, are they going to accept me? Or, you know, it's like, no, I get to introduce myself to this environment and spread the good vibes that I'm here to bring.
Well, the thing is, when you go to a place where no one knows you, you have the opportunity to be anything or anyone you want to be.
Yeah, truthfully,
It's what you put forward.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's come to a, like I said about guitar's done so much for my depression and everything because I go to that place where I could be anyone I want.
Yeah.
And I get to a town and I want to show them me because I'm happy with me. I want to find out what the people are doing and involve myself, contribute to the stream of life and all that and stuff. And but I wouldn't want to be anyone other than me.
Yeah, man. You know, yeah, and you know,
somebody came up to me at in North Carolina after I was just telling somebody I was talking with a friend of mine, Road Dog here, and I did an open mic there, and I came down and the guy goes over and hands me a $5 bill. You know, I didn't have a tip cup or nothing, but hands me a $5 bill after an open mic and says, "Hey man, you're the real thing, right?" Yeah. And I was like, I'm me. I don't know if I don't know who I'm. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean that. No, man. I mean, I think like
I'm neither dirty nor a kid, so but I don't know where to. You know, dirty kids.
Yeah.
I'm like I love getting thrown into a lot of them sometimes because I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I'm a clean adult, but it doesn't have the same ring.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah. You know, man. But you know, and once again, I never know where the conversations are going to go during the show, but I really liked it, man. You know, a lot of the stuff that you've said has really resonated with me in a way where I've never talked to somebody else who's traveled extensively, you know, where it was like, man, I was on the road for 5 years living out of a North Face backpack. Like, that's what I was doing, you know, from the age of 20 to 25, you know, that's what I was doing. So it's been cool to talk to somebody else who was like, yeah, man, like,
well,
I've hit the road.
You know, straight white American male, college educated, honest. I can count. I mean, I had all the. I don't know. I do what I was getting back to earlier with I do recognize also some of the things in the country that I couldn't do if I was not me. So as a post,
I hear that.
As a post 30 white American college educated, there's a lot of things that I can still insist upon, you know, I can travel. I have the freedom to travel.
Yeah.
They've tried to shut down there's been a lot of transient stuff that hinders you. But I like walking. My preferred mode of transportation is walking. I like to walk. I walked 1,000 miles of California coast.
Yeah.
And anybody that's going to look that up, there's actually only 900 and something. And I started in Port Orford, Oregon, but most of it was California coast.
Yeah, let's not get too up on the guy for walking 1,000 miles on the coast.
It was
only 997.
No, I did walk 1,000, but some of it was Oregon. And I get to hike through Washington this year. Go see my friend. I put together a band here.
Nice.
I've just, and it's all organically. It's not like I was looking for a bassist or looking for another guitar player or looking for a drummer. Gary Chase, I want to play. King Creasy just left his band and started playing, and he's wonderful. I've traveled with him before. He's going up to Oregon. I'm going to see him at the end of my tour.
That's awesome, dude.
Pete Miller has just said, hey, can I step in when he gets away to play? And I'm like, that's awesome. And I try to find these gigs, and I go to tell them, and it's just so nice to have people that I respect and admire here in town say, hey, man, you know, I appreciate the $100, but I dig your music. I just want to play with that. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, dude. That's what's up,
it's
man.
really made me. I never saw myself as the front man of any kind of band, and people's support here in Denton has really done that for me. Kind of pushed me to the front of, well, these guys we're not a band. It's just a project. Right?
Yeah,
it's a project.
Yeah.
Gideon Crow Music. It's a project.
Because
these guys really wanted to play with me, and then how am I going to turn that down? They're awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, man, we've only got a few minutes left here. So there's one question that I have to ask everybody. We've talked about a whole lot of stuff. Once again, y'all, we've got Patrick Hamilton in the building. If you see the stickers, the Gideon Crow music around, make sure you look him up. Go check out his music. Patrick Hamilton, you can find it all over the place. Now, one of the final questions, man, that I got to know, we talked about food a little bit. You're like, when am I going to eat? Well, what is your favorite snack, man? What's your favorite snack?
Oh, my gosh. Strawberry shortcake.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
I like that.
Sandra made it for my birthday, or went and got that, because I'm not a big cake eater.
Yeah,
I'm not a sweet. Here's my thing: I'm not a sweets person. I always tell the people that doesn't mean I'm not a sweet person. I'm nice. It's just I don't dig ice cream and cake and whatever.
I hear you.
But on special occasions and stuff, strawberry shortcakes.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, love that.
That's awesome, dude. Well, before we go, man, do you have any other songs or anything else that we need to hear tonight, man? I mean, like, I've loved the music that you've played tonight, man. So if you have anything else that you'd like to perform before we head out,
you know what?
I'd feel free to close it out with a great song, man, or something else. But if y'all are tuning in tonight, we've had Patrick Hamilton on the show. You're tuned into Sound Values. My name is Kind Beats. This is DentonRadio.com. We have Ellie Bell and the Denton Vibe coming up next. I see Milla out there. I see Milla out there. He's vibing. I'm not sure who the other people are, but if Milla the Mayor is here, you can guarantee that whoever he brought in is usually of good quality. I can guarantee you that, all right? So, and then next week, y'all, actually, no, so we've got the 6th. It's actually going to be March 6th. My good friend Angie, who is a Zumba instructor is actually going to be in. So we're going to veer away from the music to begin in March, but we'll come back to it, all right? So don't get worried. We got to start changing things up a little bit, all right? And also she's going to have music at the Zumba class. So, you know, it works. It works with both, y'all. So once again, if you've just tuned in, make sure you go back, reshare the video. Sharing is caring. Watch it. We've had a couple live performances tonight from Patrick Hamilton. You can find his music online. Look it up. He's always around Denton with a smile on his face. Sometimes you can find him at Rusty Taco just playing on an afternoon.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. When I get a new song and I feel like going and trying it out, those guys are really great.
Yeah,
Rusty
they're super.
Taco,
Yeah, that's where I saw you before.
cool.
I remember we were sitting there and these ladies were like,
they're
no,
really
keep
cool.
going.
And I found out afterwards that that people had gone there, and I think they're setting something up now. And I actually used to see Jake there back used to do a show over there and stuff, Denton Radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got their little stage.
Before y'all had this place here, this nice studio here.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, they haven't done that in a while, and it took me it was a couple of years of doing that before I came through town and realized there's so many things I neglect sometimes, people's friendships and things like that, and I realized that they didn't really let anybody else do that for a while.
Not really,
like
no.
I was pretty much the guy that whatever manager was there was like, "Oh yeah, Patrick, you want us to turn down the music? Go out there and play.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
We'll get you something to eat."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "These
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
it's cool."
So you got
But,
one more song for us, my man? Or a poem?
I don't want a song. I had dug this out to show somebody else. But I was flipping through here thinking maybe I'll just here's
let's do
something
it.
I sent when I was doing the East Coast.
Sounds good
It's
to
a
me.
lot harder to hike up the East Coast than it is to go down the West Coast.
Yeah.
It's not there's not a road that goes right along the
yeah,
coast.
that's the truth.
But and there's a lot of little islands and stuff too. But anyway, I wrote this to a friend of mine in Colorado, John, and it was on a postcard. I like to send postcards. I was putting it in this poetry book, or this collection of poems, I think. It's kind of a poem. Post to John. Singing for the tree lines not far in from shore, along dusty roads with pack on back and guitar. Cool downtown city weekend nights with street lamps, store window light. Wandering nomadic gypsy soul with adopted name, entertaining angels and saints. Warm country summer days, sidewalks strumming, streaming sweat, marking time, keeping time, forgetting time and making it, watching it, seizing or taking it, breathing, discovering, smiling, shrugging, and sharing with friends whatever's left, all the best. And I just signed it all the best. So
That's awesome, man.
it was
It's awesome. I think
postcard I
right
sent
there
to a
is
friend.
absolutely the most perfect way to close out the show. Right there, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have been watching Patrick Hamilton here tonight on Sound Values, Awesome Poetry. Make
And
sure
if
you
you
click
look,
back about 30 seconds and watch that.
Yeah, if you are we still on? If you look
yeah.
me up on if you look me up here on the Facebook, if you're watching Facebook Live, if you look me up Patrick's music page,
All right.
or then or Patrick Hamilton Gideon Crow Music, I guess, I don't know, but
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna start doing some live streaming with my phone
Awesome.
throughout the country. So my idea is to take everyone that I know that I haven't seen in a couple years or that I see once a year with me on the road, so
That's
they can
awesome, dude.
see all the sites and meet all the people and stuff.
Well, thanks again, man.
All right.
I appreciate you coming in. It's been great talking
Thank
once
you.
again, folks.
Thanks
Patrick
for the
Hamilton.
invite.
Oh, yeah, man. Y'all
Appreciate it.
stick around. We got Ellie Bell and the Denton Vibe up next right here
whoop.
on DentonRadio.com. You'll stay cool and stay tuned in. Peace.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.